spend too much time on the dark web. Not for anything illegal, not really. I don't buy guns, or pills, or stolen logins. I just browse. I like the obscure stuff. The half-dead forums with usernames that look like ancient scripts. The marketplace pages that only stay up for 20 minutes at a time. The things that feel like they weren't meant to be seen. And yeah, sometimes I download weird things. Sometimes I click links I shouldn't. One night, around 3:40 a.m., I was half asleep, mind fogged from scrolling for hours. I found a post titled, "Feel Everything Full Immersion, VR No Headset Required." No flare or images. Just that one line, followed by a barely noticeable download button. I clicked it. Of course I clicked it. No virus warnings. No installers. Just a black window that opened instantly. No controls, no instructions. Just a single line of glowing red text. Welcome home. And then, sound. Not music or static or any other game noise. Just breathing. Like someone standing just behind me. Deep, steady inhales. I didn't even get the chance to react before the screen flashed. And I was in a hallway. Not a rendered hallway. Not low-poly graphics or uncanny digital shaders. I was there. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't feel like I was in a game. I felt like I was inside a house I had never seen before. It was quiet. Dust hung in the air. The floor creaked beneath me when I took a step forward. I could feel the chill on my skin. The smell, musty wood, decay, something sour, hit my nose so sharply I gagged. I looked down at my hands. They were my hands. Everything was real. The texture of the walls, the way the light filtered through the stained glass, the dull vibration in the floorboards when I walked. No HUD, no menus, no buttons. Just me, alone in the house. I tried to exit. I blinked, and I was back in my room, sitting in my chair, alone. Except, I wasn't sweating before. My heart was pounding like I'd just run a mile, and my hands were covered in dust. And on my arm, a small red line, like something had touched me. The next night I went back. Same black window, same welcome home, same house. This time, I stayed longer. I wandered through the rooms. None of them made sense. A kitchen led into a bathroom. A stairwell went down but ended at an attic. Some of the furniture looked warped, like it had melted and reformed in strange shapes. But I felt everything. I touched a cracked window, and it sliced my fingertip open. I ran my hand over a burning stovetop and felt the skin blister. I stood under a leaking ceiling and shivered as cold water soaked through my shirt. Every sensation was real, too real, and I couldn't stop. I was obsessed. Not with the visuals or the mystery, but with the feeling, the immersion. Nothing in the real world compared. Not pain, not pleasure, not dreams. It was like living on the edge of something bigger, something alive, something that wanted me there. I don't know how many times I played. The game didn't track sessions. There was no save file, no login, just a blank black window I clicked when I wanted to feel again. And slowly, the game started bleeding into the real world. At first, it was small things. The smell of that rotten hallway would follow me out of the game. I'd find dust on my floor that matched the exact grainy texture of the carpets inside the house. Then, I started hearing breathing at night, always from behind me, always just out of reach. One afternoon, I tried to cook dinner. My stove, my real stove, looked different, older, rusted. The exact same design as the one in the game. The knobs felt too warm when I touched them. I blinked, shook my head, and it was normal again. But my hand still stung. I checked the skin, blistered. Same spot as where I touched the stove in-game the night before. I tried to stop. I didn't open the game for 3 days. I unplugged my PC. I stayed away from screens. I thought maybe I just needed sleep. On the third night, I woke up on the floor of my hallway, dust in my mouth, blood on my fingertips. I didn't remember walking there. I didn't remember doing anything. I sat up, shaking, and turned to look at the mirror in the hallway. And behind me, for just a split second, I saw the house. That house, flickering like a reflection of somewhere else. And then it was gone. I couldn't tell if I'd gone into the game or if the game had come out. I started sleepwalking. That's not something I've ever done before. But now I'd wake up in strange places, on the floor, in the bathtub, once even on my kitchen counter, with no memory of how I got there. And always, there was dust on my hands. The same kind of dust from the house in the game. At first, I thought I was just dreaming, that maybe I'd been playing the game so much it had warped my brain. But then, I started finding things in my real apartment. I'd wake up, and my bedroom would look wrong, like the bed frame had shifted a few inches. The closet door unhinged just slightly. I knew my space. I was obsessive about how things were placed. But every day, something would be off, like the house was copying itself over my life, like the game was trying to render itself here. And then came the children. It started with whispers, laughter from the hallway, bare feet slapping against the floor, high-pitched giggles, and the sound of small hands brushing the walls. I'd run out into the hallway, thinking maybe I left a video on or something, but there'd be no sound, no source, just silence, and the faint scent of mildew. Then, one night, I saw them. 3 kids, pale, dirty, standing at the end of the hallway just watching me. Their clothes didn't match. They looked like they were from different decades. One had an old-fashioned sailor outfit. Another wore a blood-stained hoodie. The third had no shoes and stood perfectly still, twitching every few seconds. I blinked, and they were gone, just vanished. I finally snapped the night I saw him. The tall man, the thing. It wasn't a person. It was black. Black like a shadow that refused to move. Black like the color you see behind your eyelids when you're underwater. He stood just beyond the kids, at least 7 feet tall, thin, but not fragile. His limbs looked like they were strung together from wires and bone. His head tilted at an impossible angle, like someone had assembled him wrong. And even though he had no face, I knew he was smiling. I called the police. I didn't even think twice about it. I picked up my phone, fingers shaking, and told them there were people in my house, that I was seeing things. Children, a man, shadows. The operator kept asking me to calm down. "I don't feel safe," I said. "Please, just send someone." They said they'd dispatch a unit. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. The officer looked normal. Mid-40s, calm voice, concerned expression. He stepped into my apartment, looked around, and then shook his head. "No one's here," he said. "Everything looks secure." I must have looked insane, pale, twitchy, hollow-eyed. "Okay," he said. "Look, why don't you grab a coat? I'll take you to town, let you get some rest, talk to someone." My car had broken down that morning. Engine failure, battery shot, everything dead. Something had been under it. I saw it, crawling, long arms, flat face. I didn't argue. I nodded and went to grab my coat. I was only gone for 30 seconds. When I came back into the room, the officer was on the floor, dead, blood pooling around his head. His skull was cracked open like someone had slammed it into the corner of the table. No signs of a struggle, and right above him stood the black figure, watching me, not moving, no sound or expression, just presence. I screamed. I didn't look back. I ran to the officer's car and jumped in, fumbled with the keys, started the engine and drove. The moment the car started, I floored the gas pedal. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to know if he was still standing there, if he was following, or worse, if he was already in the car. The tires screeched as I tore out of my neighborhood. Streetlights blurred past. The dashboard glowed a sickly blue. It was 30 minutes to town, 30 minutes to safety. I told myself, if I could just get there, if I could just see other people, normal people, I'd be okay. I gripped the wheel tighter. I just needed to focus, just needed to. The road bent slightly to the left. A field of trees rolled by on the right. A crooked pine sat at the edge of the ditch. I passed it. My eyes flicked to the clock. 3:12 a.m. I kept driving. The road bent slightly to the left again. Trees, ditch, crooked pine. Same one. I blinked. Maybe I was disoriented. I pressed the gas harder. 3:13 a.m. bent left. Trees, ditch, crooked pine. Again. I stared at the tree. It wasn't just similar. It was identical. Same number of branches. Same broken limb hanging halfway down. Same tilt. I took a deep breath and kept going. 3:14 a.m. Bent left. Trees, ditch, pine. I slammed the brakes. The car skid to a halt. I was shaking. My hands were slick with sweat. My breath fogged the windshield. I was trapped. I stepped out of the vehicle. The wind was still. The trees didn't move. The sky was cloudless, just black, starless void. No animals, no bugs, no distant cars, nothing. I tried calling 911 again. No signal. My phone flickered and showed a loading icon I'd never seen before. The spinning circle pulsed like a heartbeat. Then the screen turned black, and in red text the same words I saw when I first launched the game. Welcome home. I dropped the phone. I got back in the car and drove faster. 50, 60, 80. But no matter how far I went, the scenery didn't change. It was like driving through a screensaver set to loop. Time lost meaning. I don't know how long I drove. Minutes, hours, days. I don't remember blinking. I don't remember eating. I just remember the road, the bend, the pine, the silence. Until suddenly, I wasn't in the car anymore. I was on my couch, arms stretched out, fingers curled like they were still gripping a steering wheel. TV static buzzed in the background. My apartment was silent, cold. I sat there, not moving, afraid to breathe. No officer, no black figure, no patrol car, just me, alone. Exactly how I'd been before I clicked that game. But my shoes were muddy. My pockets were filled with dust and pine needles. And in my left hand, clenched tight, was the officer's badge. I don't know what's real anymore. Sometimes I wake up in rooms I don't recognize. One night, I opened a closet to grab a jacket and saw a hallway I'd never seen before. Long, pulsing, filled with flickering lights and whispering children. I slammed it shut. When I opened it again, it was just clothes. But the whispering stayed. Now I hear breathing every night. It's always behind me, steady, uncomfortably close. Sometimes I feel cold fingers brush the back of my neck. Sometimes I see footprints appear in the dust on my floor, bare feet, small, sometimes. I catch glimpses of the tall man, standing behind doors, reflected in windows, waiting, watching. I tried to tell someone. I wrote everything down, sent it to a friend. He replied with 3 words, That game's mine now. Then he stopped answering. His phone line went dead. I checked his apartment. It was empty. But on the floor, in a circle of dust, was a small wooden toy. A spinning top I'd seen in the game. I haven't turned on my PC in weeks. But the monitor turns on by itself now. Sometimes at 2 a.m., sometimes at 3:40. Each time, it boots to a black screen and a single red message. Feel everything. Sometimes it says, welcome home. And now, tonight for the first time, it says, you never left. I think I'm still playing. I think the game just changed levels. I think this is the next stage. And maybe it always ends this way. Maybe we were never meant to leave. Maybe he's already standing behind you right now reading this with you. And if you start hearing things too, if your house starts to shift, if you wake up with dust in your lungs and scratches on your skin, then I'm sorry. May God have mercy on your soul.